Hey, good morning, y'all. Josh the Severe Weather, special guest JuJu here with me. This is little Josh. No, she's just gonna sit back and chill and help me out with my forecast today. But for those of you in the plains, we have another rough day expected today with severe weather. Those of you in Texas, we are looking at a growing threat for some flooding. The area that we're concerned with is under an enhanced risk here later today into this evening over parts of the Missouri Valley, which includes the Omaha, Nebraska area up to maybe Sioux Falls. And again, I am watching the threat for a few tornadoes to form towards this evening over parts of Oklahoma, maybe even sneaking back into northwestern Texas. South central and southwestern Texas do have the flash for flooding, do have the threat for flash flooding. Sorry, I was on the road for 620 miles yesterday, so I apologize. A little bit, still a little bit lagged from that. But here's a video of a tornado that I saw from Channel 9 in Oklahoma City in Cole, Oklahoma. This is the second tornado to reach this region here in the last 30 days. This one, fortunately, does not look like it was nearly as strong, but nonetheless, a rough night last night over parts of central Oklahoma. Here's a look at the satellite image, and you all can see our low pressure system that developed and formed over Colorado is spreading northeastward into southwestern Nebraska. We have a big round of storms that formed over the southern plains. That is now moving eastward into eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas. Some flash flooding possible. Also, additional storms formed yesterday in parts of Mississippi, Louisiana. We did have a tornado watch and some flash flooding. Those storms are going to die off slowly as they shift eastward here into Alabama and Georgia this morning. But with the heating of the day, with all of this moisture feeding in off the Gulf, we are going to see additional storms in the southeast. There's Honey Bear. Hi, Honey Bear. Definitely, we are not done with the threat for heavy rain and severe weather. So this storm here, not moving quickly and likely to affect lots of folks here as we head on into the end of the week and into the weekend as well, a little bit farther east in parts of Illinois and Indiana. Here's a look at the forecast satellite. You guys can see it looks like kind of a bomb went off overnight here over eastern Oklahoma, and now this heavy rain moving into Missouri and Arkansas. This area of storms is going to continue and fire off additional storms this evening over parts of Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, central and southern Illinois, and Indiana. But the threat for widespread severe weather is not going to be super big. The bigger threat is going to be as we get heating of the day, our low pressure moving along into parts of northern Nebraska. We're going to see an enhanced risk for severe weather across this region and here. And we're also going to see storms popping up over parts of Oklahoma and Texas. And these could be nasty once again with tornadoes, heavy rain, large hail. We continue to see an unsettled pattern here. This is tomorrow with heavy rain over parts of central and south Texas. And then the severe weather threat is going to grow. Oh, you okay, sweets? We're going to see additional severe storms over parts of Illinois, Missouri, and Indiana. You can kind of see another big blob here going over parts of downstate Illinois, tracking into Tennessee. And I know that could impact those of you that are going to be outdoors tomorrow for any of the college and high school graduations across this region. And then tomorrow night over parts of Illinois and Indiana as well. All right, here's a look at the European. Here is the low pressure system that is responsible for the severe weather. It is going to track across Nebraska. You can see the winds aloft are strengthening out of the south and southwest. We're going to have increasing wind shear. There's also an area. There's also an area of some intense storms over parts of Texas that is going to spread up into Oklahoma here. Some wind shear. We do have a change in height with wind direction. It's going to be southerly to southeasterly at the surface, becoming more southwesterly aloft. So with that turning in the atmosphere, we do have that risk for severe weather. In the northeast, we are going to enjoy a relatively quiet day, but we do have another disturbance dropping down here across eastern Canada into Maine. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but that could pop up some showers and even a few storms over parts of Maine and the North Country here as we get later into the afternoon. And we are going to see another disturbance coming through the West Virginia area that could spawn a few showers and storms over the mid-Atlantic states today, with a better chance as we get to tomorrow as this trough digs in and continues southeastward into the weekend. So we're going to see more unsettled weather again over the weekend across the mid-Atlantic and the Tennessee Valley. Here's a look at where storm reports were yesterday. Not a ton of them. However, I think we're missing quite a few in Oklahoma. I'm watching all the storm chaser videos, getting caught up from my travels yesterday, seeing what happened in Oklahoma. Obviously, we had a lot of nasty storms near the Kansas, Nebraska, and Colorado borders here, several tornadoes reported in that region, and we had a lot of severe wind and hail as well over the lower Mississippi Valley states. Even a bit of hail with those storms that fired off here in parts of the northern Florida peninsula. But here is the overview for today, and we see there is an enhanced risk over the mid-Missouri Valley and a slight risk over the southern plains. Tomorrow we see a slightly lower risk, but I think there could certainly be an upgrade into an enhanced over eastern Iowa in the afternoon, tracking into central and north central Illinois in the evening. And then we also have a severe weather risk over the Ohio Valley here for the day on Sunday. Here's a closer look at Nebraska and Iowa and down to Kansas City today. And the enhanced risk could certainly include some major hail, 2 to 4 inches in diameter, anywhere from north central Nebraska east of Valentine over to Sioux City, Iowa, just south of Sioux Falls in South Dakota, and then down through Columbus, Omaha, near Lincoln, and into the northwestern corner of Missouri. And there's going to be a tornado chance in here as well. In fact, I would not be shocked to see an upgrade coming here in northeastern Nebraska for the risk for a few tornadoes. And I'm going to show you all the forecasts so that you can take a look at that. Tomorrow that shifts eastward into Iowa, and we should see quieter weather on Sunday across this part of the country. We also have a flood risk that is going to be growing quickly here along the Rio Grande and expanding into the hill country and Edwards Plateau of Texas today. And that risk continues to grow eastward and southward tomorrow, all the way down to about Weslaco and McAllen, Texas, up to Harlingen, and up to about Austin and just south of Round Rock. We are going to see widespread heavy rain, slow-moving storms going over the same areas. This area has been in a drought, but we are going to see that coming to an end here over the next few days as the risk for heavy rain continues. And Sunday, while the risk is down to slight, I still think any ongoing rain is going to cause issues because we're still talking about the same areas getting hit. A lot of the country is at risk for flooding, not just South Texas, although that's where things are highlighted. Today, the Dakotas into Nebraska and Iowa, and that continues into tonight. Tomorrow, some flood risk all the way into southern and southwest Minnesota, and just to the north of Des Moines and Iowa City here in Iowa. But even a risk for some flooding carries into parts of the mid-south over Kentucky, even getting into parts of southwestern Virginia, all the way to about Richmond and Petersburg in the afternoon. And that flood threat continues to be somewhat marginal, but it is there. And I would not be shocked as forecast details become more certain to us to see an enhanced or to see some growth here into a slight risk of flooding somewhere across the lower Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley and northern Arkansas. Right now, there is still a risk for flash flooding on Monday of next week over the Big Bend region of Texas, and that risk slowly comes down, but the rain does not. We're still going to see rain chances right on into Tuesday as we see moisture actually starting to build into the southwest here, parts of New Mexico, and that may shift west as we get an early monsoonal setup here into the Colorado Plateau and into eastern Arizona as we get into the first half of next week. But I'm not really going to focus too much on that in today's video. Here's a look at how things are going to evolve in Nebraska. And you can see the warm sector clears out here this morning. We have some rain and storms popping up in the early afternoon hours over central parts of Nebraska, right, JuJu? Mm-hmm. Okay, and we continue to see cells growing here as we get to about mid-afternoon, an arc here where I think we could see a stronger tornado or two. And we could even see some very big hail in here. I'm not going to pull up soundings because the HRRR model is just taking a stab at things, but I think overall the agreement is pretty good that we see severe weather in here and maybe a stronger tornado or two somewhere, even in the Omaha area, but up to about Sioux City and across north central Nebraska. That risk continues to early this evening. Then we just look at heavier rain and storms over the Dakotas well into the overnight hours tonight. Quieter weather is expected tomorrow. Iowa, you're going to see this weather moving in, some scattered showers and storms here this morning. As we get to about dinner time, we see everything in Nebraska spreading across the river around 6, 7 o'clock. Let me see if I can move this down just a tad here. Here we go. And you can see storms in southwestern Iowa are going to grow in intensity. Creston over to just north of Maryville, Missouri. And then near Des Moines, near I-35, we do have a risk for some severe weather and maybe a tornado or two in this area southwest of Des Moines right before midnight tonight. We'll still see heavy storms overnight, but the threat for severe weather does start to wane. Then we get a bit of a break, and then our low pressure system moves in and brings us more scattered showers and storms tomorrow afternoon. And continuing farther eastward, where there is going to be a growing risk for severe weather from Iowa City up to Waterloo, and maybe getting over to Davenport, exacerbating the flooding issues that we've had across this area as we get to late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. So definitely a growing risk for severe weather tomorrow that I'm going to talk about in the video that I do tomorrow. And in Illinois and Indiana, you get to watch everything to your west today. Nothing too intense at this point, but we are going to see some rain and storms south and west of Chicago mostly here this afternoon. Maybe some stronger storms near Champaign, Urbana, and over to the south and west of Indianapolis towards Bloomington here this evening. But really, the greater chance for severe weather comes tomorrow. We see a couple rounds of showers and storms, and then kind of the main event expected here tomorrow night. Likely going to be a mesoscale convective system, an MCS, that dives southeastward, goes right up and over this ridge, and moves across central Illinois into southwestern Indiana and maybe even into Kentucky here late tomorrow night. The HRRR does not go out just past midnight, so I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow. In Missouri, we'll see morning showers and storms, but relatively quieter weather until we get into the evening. St. Louis, though, could have a heavier storm late this afternoon. Here comes our line of storms to near Kansas City around 9-10 o'clock tonight. Then that moves eastward. We'll have heavy storms overnight and approaching St. Louis here around sunrise tomorrow morning. And then additional storms are possible over southern and eastern Missouri here tomorrow afternoon, and maybe some isolated hail and strong wind coming from these. And I would not be shocked if we saw a tornado warning somewhere in this region. Really tough to point that kind of nitpick at that and say where exactly it's going to be. Oklahoma, here's the HRRR. I think storms are going to be pretty intense here this evening. Tough to see it on this model. I'm going to show you another model in a minute. But the models have been really struggling with the wind shear and with how things evolve here, kind of in between the main low that's moving up into Nebraska and the second piece of energy moving through Texas at a crawl. But in between, there is enough instability for storms to form. If they do, there certainly is a tornado risk into the overnight hours tonight across Oklahoma. And again, we've got the risk for showers and storms and maybe severe weather in Oklahoma City, spreading north and east towards Stillwater, Tulsa, and McAllister in the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow. So again, we could have a few tornadoes tomorrow. So Oklahoma, this is a busy stretch for you, as you might expect in the middle of May. Nothing unusual, but obviously this is going to put people at danger for any of these stronger tornadoes. Here's a look at the RRFS. It's the Rapid Refresh Forecast System. It's an experimental model that we hope will go live soon, but it, in many cases, does a decent job at picking up where storms fire up. And this is going to be around 6 o'clock this evening. You can see, even in the northwestern Texas, big sky country, we do have a few supercells potentially, and then they spread up into central and eastern Oklahoma this afternoon and into the evening. We're not looking at widespread tornadoes, but we are going to see a few of them. And then a lot of severe weather with big hail, heavy rain, and lightning over portions of southwestern and south central Texas here, with more storms expected tomorrow. You can see overnight tonight, we're going to have very heavy rain potential here around San Antonio and on southwest. Nighttime storms are going to be nasty because they produce slow-moving, copious amounts of heavy rainfall. They also can produce life-threatening flash floods out of that because it's dark and it's very difficult to see. So if you are traveling tonight in Texas, be mindful of that. Be mindful you may be turning around here to avoid rising waters. Not going to be everywhere in Texas, but somebody I think will get a lot of rain, over a foot of rain. Tomorrow, that rain moves slowly eastward towards the coastal bend in the evening. We'll see additional showers and storms over parts of Arkansas, but notice that the RRFS is not as busy across Oklahoma as the HRRR. So the models are not in great agreement. You all right, sweets? All right. Kid's got a little bit of a cough. Shocker, right?
Yeah.
Okay, she'll be great. But we can still see a few stronger storms here across Oklahoma here tomorrow afternoon. Here's a closer look from the NAM model of Deep South Texas. You can see things start ramping up here in the evening hours, and a lot of rain south and west of San Antonio overnight tonight. More storms expected tomorrow morning, right up I-35, followed by maybe some severe weather in the afternoon into the evening hours, and very heavy rain expected here as well through the overnight. Actually, tomorrow night I think could be worse near San Antonio and southward towards Laredo. So that's when our flood threat could be at its highest. West Texas, southwest Texas, we're going to have some nasty storms here as well, even southeastern New Mexico overnight. maybe some heavy rain, but I think the worst rain is going to be off south of Abilene and San Angelo tomorrow afternoon. We are going to see a few scattered showers and storms over New Mexico, and then things start building kind of back into the south and west, or north and west as we get into Sunday. Here are predicted rain totals over portions of Texas, and some very big numbers showing up here. Even in Arkansas, we could see over 5 inches, potentially 15 inches somewhere here in deep South Texas, and potentially widespread 4 to 8 inches west of Fort Worth and west of I-35. Definitely a lot of rain coming. Shifting gears here into the southeast, we're going to see scattered showers and storms again this afternoon. You can kind of see a line kind of arcing southeastward into Tennessee, northwest Mississippi. Maybe a little severe weather, but certainly going to be a lot of lightning. Additional storms firing over southeastern Alabama, southern and central Georgia, and even moving towards Charlotte and Columbia towards the evening tonight. We could have some nighttime storms in Birmingham, then spreading into Montgomery, and even a few in northeastern portions of Florida here this evening. We get a little bit of a break. More storms fire up tomorrow. They'll be less widespread than today's, but there could be some heavier rain in any of these storms that do pop up. Notice how slow they are to move. So the slow moving storms bring us some heavier rain. But overall, tomorrow should not be quite as active as today in the southeast. But as we get to Sunday, I think chances for storms start climbing again. In the Ohio Valley, we are going to see some showers and storms sneaking into Ohio, maybe a little bit of rain in southeastern Michigan. As we get overnight tonight, though, things are going to die down before the next wave moves through. West Virginia, western Maryland, southwest PA could see showers and storms. As we get to the first part of the weekend, then things shift southward into southwestern Virginia. Here comes our round of storms moving into Illinois here tomorrow evening, and that is going to continue southeast into Indiana and Kentucky and could reflare as we get into Sunday afternoon. And finally, in the Northeast, we are going to see some scattered activity moving through northern and central Maine, maybe even a few pop-ups moving through southern New Hampshire and northeastern Massachusetts here this afternoon. Some of these could produce some brief amounts of hail and locally strong wind. The areas I'm most concerned about that happening would be north of Bangor up to about Caribou, and maybe also across eastern Massachusetts. But by the time they hit the ocean, they should weaken. Then we should see a better day tomorrow, but additional storms are going to be moving in from the south and west on Sunday. And the model does not go out quite that far, but tomorrow's video will, and I'll be able to tell you more. Temperatures are going to be pretty toasty again in the eastern and southeastern U.S. Air quality is going to head downhill here as well. The west heats up, and we're going to see maybe some record temperatures over the northwest here as we get on into the second half of the weekend and early next week. Watch the heat build in the west. Triple digits in Arizona, central California possibly. That's going to last a few days into next week, while the east will get a nice break with cooler temperatures coming down here by the start of next week. Thank you all so much for your time today. Thank you for, you want to say bye, JuJu?
Bye.
Thank you for watching my lovely daughter who's going to turn 5 here this summer. And if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, she may make a few more appearances. No guarantees, but she could. I appreciate your time today, and I want to give all the glory to God who allows me to do this. I picked up a verse at the Y the other day, Philippians 4:13. I can do all these things through Christ who gives me strength. And that's my wife's favorite verse. And it's a great verse, but I like to see the context in the Bible. I am a Christian. I do what I do every day because the Lord has called me to do it. But Paul tells the church of Philippians in 4:10, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know that it is what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And essentially, Paul is telling us that we need to learn to appreciate what's going on in times of difficulty and to kind of lean on each other, because the Lord provides for us whether we have what's considered plenty or whether we are in dire need. He gives me strength to do what I can every day, whether I'm in need or whether I'm feeling very appreciative that I have been blessed bountifully. And I'm happy, bountifully? Is that even a word? Bountifully? I just want to pray for you if you're in a situation where you feel like you are struggling and in dire need of his strength, because he can provide that to you. He can do all things to give you that strength, but it can be very challenging in the world's way to see that. So I'm here to encourage you to list those prayer requests, because I know the Lord can provide for you, and I want to help talk to him and let him know that you are important to him, whether or not you can see that. That's why I do what I do every day. It is to share that good news with you. And I know Paul shared that good news even in dire times for him. So thank you all so much for your time today. I hope you have a blessed Friday. I'll talk to you all again in the morning. See ya and take care.